Founded by the Frank C. Ortis Art Gallery and the City of Pembroke Pines, Frank Contemporaries is a pop-up exhibition dedicated to promoting emerging artists and creative community resources, an event that offers artists, students, and industry insiders the opportunity to present their work, discover new peers and supporters, and foster professional connections. From artists, writers, curators, and art students to those who work in galleries, auction houses, and museums, people from all cultural sectors are welcome. Located at the Charles F. Dodge City Center in the heart of Pembroke Pines, the Frank is a two-story art gallery named after Mayor Frank C. Ortis for his decades-long commitment to the cultural arts. Lovingly known as the Frank, this contemporary art gallery showcases the works of regional, national, and international artists in a robust exhibition program complemented by workshops and lectures that support social engagement and artistic innovation. Welcome to Frank Contemporaries. Today, we will be highlighting our neighbor and partners at Miramar Cultural Center and Arts Park. Our first guest is Camasha Cevieux, Director of Cultural Affairs for the City of Miramar. Camasha is the Director of Miramar Cultural Center and the Arts Park. We are honored to have you as our guest speaker here today, Camasha. All right, Camasha, thank you so much for being here with us today. Why don't you tell me a bit about your history in the world of government and the arts?
So it's been an exciting run so far. I've been with government about 18 years and on the Miramar Cultural Center project for about 12. I've been in a unique position because very rarely, I guess, you get to see a building being built and then end up programming it and then letting it go through different variations of management. So I have a unique perspective in that way. I like to say, because sometimes you got to get on a train when it's actually going. And it's just a different perspective to have seen it in that way.
Tell me a bit about your education and your life experiences. Which of your experiences and accomplishments do you think were most influential in getting you to where you are today?
So that's a very interesting question. I actually had, I just spoke to the University of Miami School of Frost Music and their arts and leadership class. And they asked very good questions in the same way, because again, sometimes you don't land on the same, with the same intent that you start, especially with degrees. So I have an associate degree in poli-sci. I have a bachelor's in communications, a master's in public administration. I have several master's certificates, one in public management and one in human resources management. And along that way, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Along that way, I thought I was going to re-engineer government with my corporate principles. So before government, I started in corporate America. I was very lucky to have an opportunity that a lot of people didn't have, but again, it was not without persistence. So I say that to say that I worked for Louis Vuitton, Moet and Hennessy, which is very corporate. And I got that job during the time that I had my bachelor's degree in communications, and I was very much into brand management. I really developed a lot of foundation when it comes to that through them, and it was a very unique opportunity. It was 6 of us in the United States. Moet had reached its height in its number 1 in terms of what they were doing in the marketplace, and they decided at the height of their success, they thought that they wanted to push themselves more in voided areas. So they hired someone which they called a brand ambassador. That term has been diluted now, I think, and everyone could be a brand ambassador. But at that time, it was very much about analytics, very much about, just looking at a market share and things of that nature, and what could happen in places that we were. And that being said, that foundation of brand management, when I started to want to look at, I've always loved government and I wanted to get into government. When I got over there, I sought ways where I can advance on, like I said, re-engineer government with my corporate principles. So when I got in there, I had a unique opportunity they wanted to build a cultural center. And what the cultural center that I oversee as the department head is the first facility that the city has ever, a juncture that the city has ever made in the arts. Since then, they have added to their repertoire a amphitheater and a band shell out east. My foundation in brand management allowed me to think very creatively about that vision. And so the first thing I did is I came up with their slogan, which is where community and culture converge. And that has laid really the guidelines for how we are starting to look at programming, how we start looking, what do we want the community to feel when they come to this facility? So that's a big deal. You sort of got to think about that first. What do you really want to achieve? All of that is still maturing right now for us. So it's unique that I started and still have the opportunity to see that manifestation. So I brought you all the way from corporate to government and just try to show you how things kind of worked out for me. And it doesn't work out for some people I know. They start with and not that that's wrong or it's good or bad, but you don't necessarily end up or make things make sense. But symbiotically, that relationship to the things that I've learned, I've been able to take them. And maybe it's because I refer to myself as an associate thinker, and the way I look at the way I associate things and the way I learn, I've always sort of paid attention to that, has allowed me to sort of breathe life into the success of that and sort of connect those dots along the way.
What would you say that your goals are in terms of utilizing the arts for your local community or for your city administration?
When you say the arts in Miramar, the Miramar Cultural Center is the answer. When you talk about having the arts in the city, because the city that's not what they normally do. Cities, municipalities, you buy your water from them, you get your building permits, like that's the traditional stuff. And when you talk about wanting to do arts in the community, that's like a whole other thing. I mean, that's like saying that you want to define your lifestyle. Miramar historically has been a sleepy bedroom community. So by saying you want the arts in here, it's like you're defining what you do in the city of Miramar. So we're not confused about that. We advocate that. We speak that very intelligibly to all the commission so that they can have the right talking points when they're speaking to the community. Because again, when there's budget crises, the arts suffer sometimes. And it's important for me to define it in that way so that it's also modeled in a way that is embraced in the community to understand why it's always necessary. People need joy, and that's what the arts is. It's joy. For me, it's about what you feel, and I think that's what we're able to do. That's the messaging that we have to recognize the special place that we play, because while all the crazy madness might be happening, nothing is better than a musician playing you. It's you seeing art come to life, or you see it on a portrait in a book. It's amazing. And no one's going to ever replace that. Nothing really replaces that. And so I think we have an opportunity. It's not a disadvantage. And I think it's great. I'm really taking the time to, as the director, to try to open the arts, have that facility be more of a resource as a haven for the community. So I encourage everyone to look on our website, miramarculturalcenter.org, or follow us at Miramar Cultural. I hope your audience likes what they see. So thank you.
Next up, we have a musical performance by drummer and percussionist Miguel Marcel Russell. Miguel has just recently left home in Miramar to study at the Manhattan School of Music in New York, one of the world's premier music conservatories for classical music, jazz, and musical theater. He will be accompanied today by pianist Vittorio Stropoli.
I love this city. I love Broward County. That's where my heart is all the time. So that's the place that raised me. So I mean, I'll never forget where I come from. I mean, I love all my family over there. I love all my friends over there. And yeah, I mean that'll forever be my home. So wherever I end up going, if it's staying here or if it's going, I don't know, going overseas, wherever it is, that's Broward County is always the place. Miramar specifically is always the place where I can come back and be like, yeah, this is where it all started. So, if anything, I just like to say thank you to the city, thank you to everybody, thank you to all my friends, my family that lives over there. And
Our next artist is Jade Dyamond. With a dual bachelor's degree in environmental and civil engineering from Florida International University, Jade is both an engineer and a visual artist.
I've always had a piece of my heart to art. Like ever since I was younger and I lived in New York and I moved back to Florida, I've always loved art. But I'm sure like a lot of people know that there's just this misconception that, there's no work in art, don't pursue that. Not that my parents ever said that, but it was just kind of in the back of your mind. Society just puts that struggling artist type of vibe on everything. So I ended up pursuing engineering. So I got my 2 bachelors in civil and environmental engineering. And then I started working and I had maybe it's like a quarter life crisis. I was like 20, like 21. And I'm like, I don't want to just work and that's it. Just work, come home, eat, sleep, shower, whatever, repeat. Like, I don't want my life to be like that. I don't feel like that's what God had planned for me. So I just started like really thinking about, what I'd want to do and such. And I've had people because I'd paint like on the side here and there, but I didn't really take it seriously. And one day I was at my cousin's house and we were just talking and one of them was like, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I was like, I want to be successful and happy. And he was like, that answer is so generic. Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, of course, like I still want to do engineering. I want to do sustainable development projects around the world. Like that's a part of me still. But I'm like, I don't want to do just that, So one of my goals was like, I want to start pursuing art again. And I want to showcase everywhere. I want to start doing community art projects. I want to be in galleries. I want to talk to people. I want to learn more. And after that, like leaving their house, I was just driving home. I'm like, why? Like, there's no reason why I can't do it, So I applied to Raw Artists. They had a showcase in Miami, so I applied to them. And I got accepted, so I was super happy. And then Conception Miami, another group exhibition, reached out to me as well. So I had 2 showcases in last October. So that was awesome. That was great. I started out painting Marvel characters and just anything that I like. But over the past year, I feel like I've grown so much. I'm still an engineer, still working construction, but on the side, I'm taking art classes at DeVita Art Academy in Davie, which they're awesome. They're great. I'm learning so much. When I was younger, one of my cousins just told me like, hey, like drawing is there's just basic shapes. And I just started like looking at the world kind of like, basic shapes, like our head has a circle, there's a triangle there, like stuff like that. So that's how I used to draw when I was younger. And then I stopped for a while and then I'm trying to get back into it. I'm like, dang, I don't remember. It's because there's no practice. And there's just, you're right, there's this misconception where, you just either have it or you don't. That's how I thought about math. Like either you got it or you didn't. And I was getting like C's and I didn't understand. And then I started studying, practicing the problems. And even from that, I learned like, okay, this can be applied to everything. So that's kind of why I applied to DeVita, because I felt like there was more there's more of a strictness to it. And like not the class environment, but just having a teacher and having someone to point me in the right direction and having me practice. Like I started out as an acrylic painter, and now I've grown to loving oil and like just the different mediums. I'm starting to learn different techniques. There's practicing. I didn't really know much about color. I'm reading books about color theory now. I didn't really know much about blending. I'm learning how to blend now. Like there's just this endless learning, and it's not just with arts, with everything. Even for like my job too, I'm learning. So I just feel like there's also this misconception too that, you know, a lot of people, they have these dreams, these things that they want to do, and like they just feel like you said, you know, you either have it or you don't, and that's not how it is. You have to put in the time and work. All of those successful people, they put in the time and work into what they love. I talk about, you know, following your dreams so much, and I feel like I don't want to die without putting in all I have into something that I believe in. And I just feel like for artists or just anybody in general, that's always been my message. You know, just follow whatever you want to do. Don't let anything stop you. And I saw the other day, which was something very interesting to me, how, you know, they don't like, I feel like some people don't realize how important art is. And for this case, this year, 2020 has been a crazy year. This time, you're gonna look at the art and see like, okay, a pandemic was happening, Black Lives Matter was happening, an election was happening, all of these crazy things, happy times, the bad times, COVID was happening, you know? So I feel like artists are kind of like a record keeper in a way, you know?
Our final artist for today's event is Sandra Schlesinger. In this up-close and personal studio visit, Sandra takes you behind the brush into what motivates her as an artist.
Hi, my name is Sandra Schlesinger. I'm an artist, and I'd like to invite you into my studio and share with you my art, about myself, and what's behind the brush. My gift was passed down to me from my father when I was very young. I used to spend a lot of time with my dad outside on the water, learning about nature, growing plants. It was always about life around me and the colors. It was all very vivid, and it stayed with me in my heart, and I've carried it with me my entire life. We shared a lot of different moments, my dad and I. He had a talent for art, and he would often draw, and I'd watch him, and I would wish that I could do that too. I was fortunate enough to have several teachers along the way that taught me techniques, and I've been painting since early 2000. 25 years ago is when my journey started. My husband bought me for Christmas a palette, an easel, and some paint. And I don't know, I didn't know at the time why he had bought it for me, but I guess he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that was 25 years ago, and I've been painting ever since. It was really very magical. I wondered, how did he know? But, one of my passions in art is advocating for endangered species. I love painting elephants, rhinos, endangered babies. The snow leopard's endangered. This is a baby cub. And I was very excited. I saw a documentary that showed that they had been sighted again up in the mountains in China, and it was very exciting. This little guy's going to grow up, hopefully, to be a big leopard. So a lot of the mediums I use, you know, like I'll use acrylic, I'll use charcoal. And speaking of charcoal, this is one of my passions often take me into my emotions, and I have used art in all different aspects of my life. One of the things that I remember the most was 6 years ago I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Naturally, I was very devastated, and there was just a lot of fear that was all around me, and the not knowing and just being fearful of that. So I turned inward, and one day, I was able to go into my room, and I took out a pad of paper and I just started drawing. And this is what I felt. I felt like I was walking in the darkness. I felt like I couldn't see. I was scared. And it was such a great outlet for me. And I still look back. I did 3 pieces like that, and I wanted to share that with you. But I also use art in my happy moments as well. I like to express myself and make myself laugh by painting funny stuff. I really enjoy ostriches. They make me smile. One painting that I did do that I've really enjoyed was it was a very tall painting of 3 ostriches, and they had funny expressions on their faces, and I've shown that a couple of times, and it's just really brought me a lot of happiness because people gather around it and they smile, and I watch them and they laugh, and they're engaged by the joy they see in these animals, and it's just really a wonderful thing to watch people see my paintings and to see them engage with what's come from my heart that I put on the canvas. I guess what I'd like to say to other artists is just to take what's in your heart, because that's really where it comes from. The ability to create starts from here, and continue to put that on canvas and share that with people. I think one of the greatest joys that art brings me is that I can touch other people and somehow give them a moment of joy, or perhaps the beginning of healing. I don't know if you've ever looked at a painting and something inside of you stirred because it touched you. That's what art does. It's a way to engage people. It's about people. Thank you for coming. I'm really loving that I can share myself with you and my feelings and my passions and my art. And this is me. This is me all around me. And I'm so lucky to be surrounded by art and to be able to create it. And I encourage you to do that yourself.
Thank you to our friends and neighbors at Miramar Cultural Center and Arts Park for sharing your dynamic facility, artists, and community initiatives with us at the Frank today. We are delighted to have you as our partners and contemporaries in the arts and culture of Broward County.